My name is Josh Sunderland, and I'm here with Connie Sunderland, who happens to be my mother, and we're working on a grant writing tutorial. Uh, Hi, Mom.
Hi,
So where are you at today?
I'm in Clinton, Missouri.
Okay, and you're a one-room school teacher for what's the name of your school?
It's Golden Valley SDA School.
All right. So what I've done is I've sent you a manual that's got a sample project, and I just want to give you the concepts of grant writing, and it's got an
Mhm.
example there. We'll go through the example, and then we'll try to um, fill this manual with something that's tailored to you. Okay?
Very good.
Okay, we'll hope our internet keeps up. Okay,
Yeah,
so I've pretty much said here in the opening statement that grant writing is simple and yet complex based on your needs. Are your needs complex? Then your grant writing is probably going to be much more complex. Um,
hmm
if your needs are simple, then your grant writing should be quite simple. And we try not to make it more complicated than we need to. Um, the first thing we have to do is understand what is our dream, what is our vision for what we want. We can't just go and say, we want money, and so we're going to just ask for money. Most grantors, funders, philanthropists want something specific that you want. So you've got to come up concretely. What is your dream? What do you need? Here in the example I've written, I want to turn books that are meaningful into American Sign Language so that the deaf community, the ASL community, can appreciate the books that I get to appreciate too. Now, just a diversion here, most people that are in the deaf community um, don't understand our language as well as um, hearing people because their grammar is completely different. So unless they're really well educated, maybe growing up in a hearing family, the chances are that they're not going to be reading as much. And we want to encourage people to appreciate and enjoy the content in books. So that is one of my dreams. So the first thing is that is my dream. I want to turn books into American Sign Language, and that means videotaping that interpretation. Now the next thing is after my dream is what are my needs? I need a translator. I need a videographer. I need a video editor. And I need maybe a consultant, an expert that knows what they're doing to give me a better picture of what I really do need. Now, each one of those has subpoints. How much does it cost to translate a page? Somebody that's going to fund your grant is going to want to uh, know maybe per page, or maybe you're going to have to figure out how do I pay by the hour or by the book or by the page. You got to come up with that. To hire a videographer, do you have to rent a set? Do you want a set? Do you just want a blank wall, green screen? Um, and do you need to purchase equipment, video equipment, or does that come with your videographer? Then you might have support staff that you need to hire to move things around, stage, whatever it be. Video editing cost, like I said before, you might have green screen, which means they're going to have to do some CGI on the computer to turn that green screen into a background that is meaningful. Um, you might need other translators to go over your primary translator, check their work, see how they're doing, give suggestions. Maybe they'll say, hey, you know what, we think that could be better translated. You're missing a nuance here or missing a nuance there, or you're saying something that's not being said. So you might have to double up on your translators. Or maybe somebody can only translate a few days a week and you're going to have to use one translator one day, another translator another day. So you got to just think about what's needed exactly. And you might need your technical expert to guide you in what you really need. Somebody that's done it before, probably. Video editing costs. or something that you'll need to put in there along with the technical mentor. Now, next stage is, now that you know what you need, you know what you want, you know your vision, now finding your funder. What are their needs? You might go to a funder such as World Vision, and they might say their primary mission statement is to help children in communities around the world, women and children. And so you would say, okay, I want to tailor my needs around women and children. For your needs at your school, you're going to have to find somebody that fits that criteria that of your need. So each funder is going to have a mission statement, and you're going to interpret as best you can your need into their needs. So let's say you find a funder, XYZ Corporation, and they want to help schools. They want to help children enjoy outdoor education. Now, you need a security fence around your school. So you want them to be able to spend time outside in your little gardens or playing outside outdoors. And so even though you're not necessarily full-time going to be taking them out on nature walks out through the woods and telling them this genus and that species of tree and plant and shrub, but you're going to do that a little bit maybe, but you can justify and say, I can't get my kids safely outside as best as I want without this fence. So you're going to interpret the fence means promoting outdoor education for you. Okay? And I would translate what you need by saying, we have a slight security issue based on the community we're in, and we want to give these children access to the outdoors. We want to do it safely and have this fence there just to add additional security for that measure, just because of the location. You're not inner city, but you're also next to a facility that has people that might not be safe to have children around at times. Potentially, you don't want to really advertise that problem, but find a creative and safe way to say we need the security fence for security, and that will help us do outdoor education. So you would tailor it to that. Or maybe you'd go to your local city government and ask them about funds for education. And they'll say, well, we have funds for this kind of education and that kind of education. And you would find a way to hopefully translate their needs into your needs and your needs into their needs, and discuss it with them. Say, hey, I want my kids outside, and maybe they're supposed to learn about this certain topic, but I need a fence to do that. Or maybe you want industrial education in there, so you're going to have them work with the contractors, well supervised in a safe way for kids, give them their hard hats and their safety equipment, their personal protection equipment, and have them watch, or maybe shovel a few shovels of dirt, or move some cement or something like that to give them those industrial education credits they need, meet the needs of the funder. You might even be able to find funders such as Home Depot. I mean, might say, hey, we have money for, building our community, and you'll get a fence with Home Depot printed all over it, and you'll get your kid's photo, and they'll be taken, it'll be an advertisement for Home Depot. You don't know. So you got to just tailor how are you going to get these funds. But make sure you're meeting their needs. So that's the most likely way of getting the funding. Now it might be a politician. It might be somebody running for some office, and you say, hey, you can use helping us to promote yourself. Promoting education. Come and support a fence project, and maybe something else. Call it what you want. We need a fence. you come and get your picture taken at our school. Um, Look at it that way. You might go from local community, you might go from like the city, you might check for um, funders in the county, you might find funders at the state level, at the governor's level. Uh, so you just need to check through that, check through major businesses like Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever's in your community. Find what their needs are. A lot of times they want votes if they're politicians. They want advertisement, marketing if they're a business. Um, if they're already a philanthropic organization, they're going to have their specific needs, whether it's helping children or helping education or promoting certain types of activities. And you would tailor your grant mission to fit their mission. But you're not going to um, probably not going to get funded by people who have a mission for Zimbabwe in Missouri. I mean,
Yeah.
you could probably get creative enough and say, hey, our kids are going to do some kind of communication with Zimbabwe and some internet. Hello, how are you guys doing in Zimbabwe? And write letters or something. It's possible, but you got to see how far you're willing to bend and move, and how far they're willing to help you get what you need. So you probably need to look at things that more align with your needs, but be creative. Don't be afraid of, seeing how you need to twist something. It could be the Blueberry Association wants you to plant blueberries, but you say you need a fence to keep the deer out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the people too. So be creative, think outside the box, but also you need to fit the funder's needs. Something that funders want to know is that you're doing your due diligence and not just wasting their money. That means, say you have a buddy that can put up a fence for you, and he says that'll cost $50,000. Well, that's all fine and dandy, and maybe he's a great guy to do it. But then you find a lady over here that's advertising, she'll do it for 20. And what you need to do is show 3 legitimate bids. Get people to go through and check, is this a fair bid? Now maybe you're not going to choose the lowest bidder either. You might check somebody who's going to do it quickly, safely, that has a good reputation. There's multiple reasons. Maybe one crew of builders hires ex-cons. Do you want that group of workers around your children? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to check the safety of what kind of contractors do I want working for me? Are they going to be safe around the children? What security measures do I need to put in place? So it's not necessarily going to be the lowest bidder. And so make sure you get your 3 bids, but also check through each aspect of the service provider, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. And you might want to also check their references, what kind of work they've done in the past. And make sure and document your bids, but make sure you have those 3 bids. For here, I don't need to go into example, but I put example for Team A, Team B, Team C. Sometimes you're putting a team together. It's not necessarily going to be one contractor doing it. It might be a bunch of subcontractors, or it might be a group of people maybe in the community or in your local church or something, that you can hire them to do the work, and you put groups of teams together and compare them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Jane Doe is going to interpret for $2 a page, or maybe somebody at your church or community will work for $10 an hour and get so much work done. I don't know. Just put down, if you're not getting a contractor, which I don't know your local ordinances and codes in Missouri to build a fence, but you might be able to do it with local help instead of going through a contractor. but it's something to look at. However, a funder might want and prefer you to go through a contractor because contractors, um, they're bound by legal um, codes. They have to do the work before they get paid, or they have to pay you, or if they have insurance. So if they make a mistake, break something, they're liable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you might say, you know what, it might be cheaper to use local help, but my funder would prefer a contractor, somebody that's licensed and has a bond. So you would look at that. So get your 3 teams together or 3 contracts together. Talk to your local county building office and ask them what requirements are needed to put in such a fence. Also, maybe some fences are more legal than others for being around children. Maybe there's some kind of laws involved with that. So make sure you get permits and designate the usage, what kind of usage you're going to have. Like for instance, you say you have a hurricane fence with serpentina wire on top. It's super razor sharp stuff. That might be good for security, and it might be great for deer. Maybe not, but perhaps the children climb up that fence and get cut.
Mm-hmm.
Then there might be an investigation saying, "Oh, well, who told you could build that fence? That fence is not legal for children in schools." You're like, "Oh, I didn't know that." So make sure and talk to your local building office, building department, and make sure your contractor, whoever you get to do the work, is um, keeping on top of the codes and requirements, because they might say, hey, in our contract, we wrote we're going to put this kind of fence up. They didn't say that it was going to be used for children, and they might know that, and they just weren't taking the time to look through that and make sure of the local ordinances for usages at schools. And then they're just going to put it on you because you signed the contract saying, yes, put this kind of fence up. So don't necessarily rely on your contractors. Make sure that you've done your homework too. And the people that fund you are going to be happy that you've done your due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to equipment down on page, I don't know where I'm at, 4 or something. Yes, page 4. Sometimes the contractors or people you'll hire don't come with tools. Maybe they're a handyman and they don't have everything they need, but they know how to do it. They're licensed, and next thing you know, they're going to have to be buying a bunch of tools, and they're going to say, hey, I need more money for tools, or I can't do this work without tools. Look what's in your best interest to hire people. Do they come with equipment? Do they not come with equipment? How do you fit that into your budget? Maybe you need some.
Right.
Maybe you need some of that equipment at your school long term. So maybe you're going to say, you know what, we're going to buy this equipment to help maintain what we've got. So you need to look at the equipment too. And if you have a team of people doing it instead of a contractor, and if it's legal for you to have a team of local people that are not licensed contractors, you might want to put tools in your budget, or even give them a mix. Give your funder a mix of options, like get a licensed contractor's bid, get a local handyman's bid, get another team's bid. Throw in some options and explain, the reasons why each team would be good. Let your funder look at that. And maybe for your team that is local handyman, they might need tools that they're going to have to buy, and you're going to have to put that in there, and maybe that's going to cost more than your contractor when you add tools. So you've got to be able to look at that equipment cost too. Maybe some kind of trencher equipment they need is going to cost $10,000, and you can't rent it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not, but you got to look at all those extra costs. And again, I'd probably ask a local consultant to help you get all the details you need. Management, in grants, you can pay yourself a certain wage for your oversight. Um, maybe for research, for mailing different documents, for whatever. The maximum you can pull out is 10%. I would probably knock it down to about 5% unless you were going to spend a lot of hours on it. If you're going to spend a lot of hours working on the project, overseeing the project, managing the project, you can actually write yourself a salary, and that's not in the 10% or 5%. That salary would be something like, okay, someone with your qualifications makes between 45 and 65,000 fair market value. That would be the going rate in your county. You would find out somebody that would oversee maybe like a principal salary. Someone that's in the management level overseeing stuff like you would be doing. What is the local going rate? And funders respect that and they allow that. Some funders will specify and say, no, we're only going to fund the actual project, which is fine. You got to do what you got to do. But a lot of funders will also respect that, somebody's working hard trying to survive, trying to get that done. So what you would do is say, okay, my going rate in your county is $45,000 a year annually. And you're going to spend 3 months working on this project. So you would take your $45,000 and divide it by 4. Okay, so that would be like 11,250. Okay, now that's for your 3 months. That's for full time. So how many hours a week are you going to put into it? So say you're going to put 10 hours a week working on this project. So then you split that 40-hour work week by 4 again. So now you have $276 or something a week that you would pay yourself. So you just have to calculate per hours by that salary. Okay, so by how many months you're going to work on it, how many hours a week you're going to work on it, you would divide that and you would put that down as your salary for managing the project. Okay.
Okay.
If you don't want to do that, then I might throw in just a small percentage for oversight. It might cost you something to watch the project or whatever you're doing. However, if you're being paid already by the school full time, you probably cannot justify putting in a salary for yourself because you're already working technically at 40 hours a week. Now, if you're working 50 hours a week, you can actually prove it. Say, look, I'm spending my 40 hours a week already with the school, and I'm working another 10 hours a week on this project besides my salary, then you could probably justify it. Otherwise, I'd probably leave that out. Or if you designate another manager, somebody else to oversee it, they could put that salary into that grant. Okay? You don't have to starve while you work on something like this. So just calculate that in there. Realize that most funders will respect it, whether they decide to fund that salary or not. They won't be shocked by that because that's standard procedure. Let's see here. You need to be able to document everything you do. So I would start from the very beginning. What is your process? Map that out. Write down, take notes, take as many pictures as you can. When you talk to your consultants, record it. We take notes. Let them give you notes, emails, text messages, whatever you can document. But I would try to get it in print or in video, something tangible to document your entire process. That way you can go back and say, well, we looked at this already, and this is what we came up with. I didn't come up with this off the top of my head. Maybe a funder is going to visit your project and say, hey, what all have you been doing? They said, well, I talked with Joe, and I talked with Mike, and I talked with Sally, and we did this and we did that. They're not going to think that's as professional as it could be. Maybe they will, maybe they don't mind, maybe they're laid back. But if they're highly professional people that are always looking at the nitty gritty, you're going to want to have some documentation. Make them comfortable. Make them know that you've done your homework. You're documenting this. You're taking this to the highest professional level possible. And yeah, just don't think that too many pictures or too much documentation is a problem. You can't have too much. The worst you can do is simplify a packet, a brief packet of what you've got, what you've done. And if they want to see the big boxed files of what you've collected, then they can go to that. Now, follow-up is something that most funders want to know about. Some don't, but if they're in the development or if they're in political or something like that, they want to be able to document how helping you helps the community. Okay. Also, advertisers, people in the business will want to know how many people really care about funding local schools in Missouri or in Clinton, Missouri. So you're going to want to maybe go to your census website or city data website and get details about the size of your community. I wouldn't just go with Clinton, but your clients come from a wide variety of areas. You have people coming from more than an hour away to your school possibly. So the community you have is quite expanded. So I would say, our reach so far is reaching within this certain grid. We have this radius, and potentially we have, access to 10,000 students or, 1,000 families, something like that. So that could be your impact. So you want to get some of that information down before you even send your grant out. Let people know ahead of time how big of community. Now, I know you're a small rural community, to some degree, not as small as you've been in the past, but you're not a large city. So you might want to tailor it to rural community education, reaching those that don't have as many options. Maybe your grant, the funder is going to say, our mission is to help people that don't have as much access to education. You're reaching a special clientele. Or maybe they're the kind of funder that wants to reach as many people as possible. So how you first present your first line is, we're reaching as many as 100,000 people for our area, potentially. Or you're going to say, look, we're in these small little communities with average population of 2,000 people per little community. You can say completely two different opposite things and still be correct because of the range of influence you have. Although you are in a small community, you do have your pick from all the little local communities around you too, potentially. So you've got to look at it both ways and tailor it truthfully to meet their needs. Because a lot of times, as long as it's true, and as long as you're legit and you're doing things correctly and you're doing good work, they don't care. Most of the time, the people you're getting funds for are actually getting larger funds to give to little schools like you or little projects like you. Okay, so it's a trickle-down system most of the time. Most funders, like say the government, the United States government federal government is going to send out a giant grant to some large nonprofit organizations. And those guys down in turn are going to send it to smaller groups. And those guys are going to send it to even smaller groups. Or maybe it's going to go from federal to state to county to city to your different education circles wherever you're at, your little tiny district, school districts. So it all depends. But you've got to look at what their desire is and how are they going to monitor or look at what you're doing. Part of that monitoring is looking at the impact. How many people could you potentially impact by improving your school? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I would just do as much of that as you can. Pretend you're going to do your impact study before you even start your project. So you have what you anticipate your impact is going to be, and then at the end of your project, you might do your 3 month later impact study and your 6 month later impact study. Most funders are not going to require that, but you might want to take 10 minutes and look at your census and see, did it change? Did your community grow at all during that time? How many people did, is your community getting smaller? Maybe write just some notes down, simple notes saying, we gained so many students or we had so many inquiries after we built that fence, or we got a lot of phone calls or emails. You also might want to make up some kind of social media page that people can comment. Say you get a funder from Home Depot, people can send notes. Hey, congratulations, school. We saw you on TV or on the internet. We just want to give you a shout out and say, we're glad to be supportive of your school. Something like that. So there's so many options out there, but you can keep it as simple as you want, but documentation is huge. Um, It'll help you too if you want further grants down the line. You say, look, we've done this grant before, and you could set out a portfolio saying this is all our stuff. We've done this before. We'd like another grant for some other project we want down the road. And they'll say, wow, you guys are really professional. You guys really did your homework, and we want to give you that large grant for whatever project you have in mind. So don't look at it just
Mm-hmm.
as today, what I can get today. Look at it as something down your future. What's down the road for you? Okay. Um, Sometimes it's going to cost you something too to do your study. Um, maybe you're going to do some community surveys. Um, get some professional to come and help you do impact studies. Somebody that's trained in that kind of thing. Depending on what your funder wants, and you would have to budget that into. So that might be your technical mentor or expert that would come over and help you specifically with maybe the monitoring and evaluation, community surveys, impact studies, whatever. So make sure you put that in there. So in your mind, in your process, pretend, even if you don't have real numbers, plug in those numbers, imaginary numbers, get that all down, go through in your mind through the process, talk to somebody that can give you uh, the information you don't have, somebody that's done it before, hopefully, and have them put their input too. Because more than one or two heads is great. And get more people together, get the community knowledge together, and they can, as a team, get everything going correctly. You might totally miss something. And maybe I'm missing something here too. So get your consultants together and get this wrapped up nice with a bow on top. Okay, so um, looking at what do you want? What do you want? What's your dream?
One of the issues that we have is we have started a school in our church. The church has been established for 15 years at least. But next door to us, there is a Pathways program that works with individuals who are trying to get off of drugs or who have some kind of emotional problems. They are directly adjacent to our property. And even this year, we have had the police come onto our property twice looking for individuals who were kind of out of their minds. In fact, we um, had students here while one of these individuals came and was shaking our doors trying to get into our church. Um, we really need this fence for the safety of our children so that they can be more confident here in school and not be disrupted or traumatized by individuals and the police coming for those individuals.
Mhm.
Um, Fortunately, nothing has happened when those individuals came. Fortunately, we do secure our doors, but um, it would be nice while we're out on the playground, there isn't that safety. And we have a local woods here, which it's nice to be able to go out and to be feel safe on our playground in the woods that is a part of our property as we're walking around. So it is a real need for our school.
Yeah, something I would recommend is talking to the directors of that Pathways program and talking to them about a joint grant that together as a
Mm-hmm.
team that you guys would put that together. And I would probably ask them to completely put a fence around their project or around your school campus. Um, but talk to them and say what your needs are. Explain it to them. I don't know their funding, and you'd probably want to look um, at who they are and what they are. 10 to 1, they're a 501c3 already. And as a 501c3, their information is public record. So what I would do is I would look on GuideStar, um, and that will give you information at what range of annual budget they have, whether it be 2 million or 100,000 or whatever it be. You can find out how big of operation they really are, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that will help you know the potential for their ability to put in a fence themselves. Sometimes organizations like that are stressed already financially because they're doing all this service work and they don't have any money left over, not enough money to take care of all the people they have. But the bigger the budget they have, the higher potential they'll have for being able to accommodate you. Um, and you might just talk with them ahead of time, say, hey, we have this problem with your facility next to our facility with children. Is there any way you guys could put up a fence? Um, if they get kind of pushy and ugly with you, I'd probably talk to the county, or you might even just straight talk with the county first and say, hey, can you send someone to ask them about the potential putting up a fence to keep the children safe? Maybe let them deal with it. It depends, but you
Mm-hmm.
probably want to send somebody that knows what they're talking about, or you can just get your homework done. Go talk to the city or the county first and do your homework. Know what your rights are as a school, what you can ask of that organization. Maybe you have all the right to require that they put up a fence, or maybe not, you know. And so find out ahead of time what the city or county uh, recommends. And if it's better for you to just go and talk with them friendly, say, hey, look, can we do a joint grant proposal for the county or for the state and see if we can get a fence here to keep our children safe and, keep some problems away. Maybe that'll work, maybe that won't work. But knowing your rights, knowing um, what you can do before you go and talk to them will give you a lot more leverage and and maybe you don't have that leverage, but you can just go and show a friendly face and say, is there any way we can work together to get this fence? And
Mm-hmm.
just look into that, do your homework. Um, okay, so you need a fence for security reasons for the children. Totally understandable.
Mhm.
Okay, now this fence probably should completely encapsulate your campus
Yes.
because otherwise they'll just walk around it. I've seen the
Mhm.
location, and just putting a fence between your border and their border is not enough, you know.
No.
So anyway, that's probably a pretty good sized fence.
Yes, it would be. It would also need to have like an electronic gate where people could access the property if they had a special code, but they couldn't just come onto the property.
Mm, okay. So you're gonna have to write down things like that, how tall a fence, whatever. Also talk to your
Hmm.
building uh, department and ask them what kind of fences can be used. Can you use serpentina wire on top of a school fence? You know, because sometimes people that
Hmm.
are on different drugs, um, they don't feel pain as much, or they don't realize their limitations, and they might just go mad wild and hop your fence. And so you
Hmm.
need to talk with experts about what kind of fence should be used for people that are um, on certain drugs that are limit, like meth or PVP or PCP, or some of these other drugs. They can really alter people's state, and they can do some crazy stuff. Um,
Right.
it's even crazy. I was just involved in a lecture on drugs with the fire department, and they were saying some of the craziest stuff they've seen is from people taking too much marijuana. Usually in baked
Mm.
goods or something, they're supposed to only take a small amount, and they'll just way overdose. And they've had people that like murdered whole families and eaten people's faces off, and some pretty crazy stuff just on a simple thing called marijuana. you know.
Mm.
So it's not
Hmm.
necessarily going to be hardcore drugs that are going to cause people to go nuts. Um, so yeah, so I would figure out what you can do, what's the best type of fence, what kind of system they can have to protect you in the school. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, talk to your building office, find out the codes, but also talk with maybe local law enforcement what they recommend for the height of your fence or whatever. They might be able to point you to experts in that area for security. So okay, so we've talked about your needs. You'll need to probably talk to those experts, talk to a contractor. You might also want to talk to somebody that is um, a good designer. You might not want the ugliest fence. You might want a functioning fence, but not necessarily ugly. I mean, it's around a church. You don't want to
Right.
diminish the value of that church or the property by putting some hideous fence around the church. So it might need to be something like wrought iron, 10 foot tall, looks really classy. you know, that might work.
Hmm.
You gotta look into the artistic value and how it's going to affect the property value, not just for the church but surrounding properties. You know,
Right.
and the local pathways organization might not want something that looks like a jail around their property because it might give the wrong connotation for their program. They want people to feel free and
Right.
safe coming into their pathways program, but at the same time, you want to have a security fence. So that's something you want
Right.
to put into your plan, designing your fence to keep everybody happy, all parties happy, make your community happy. If they see a school or a church that looks like a prison, they're going to have some questions. So think
Right.
about your fence design, and again, consult technical people in that area. Get some ideas and
Mhm.
try to blend all your needs, both the visual needs for the community, the connotations of what the fence is, the strength and ability of the fence to withstand intruders that are high on drugs, out of their mind,
Right.
um, and something that's going to be safe for children too. Um,
Right.
Sometimes you have to have 2 layers of fence, one to keep kids away from the dangerous fence, a nice safe fence. So I don't know, something to look at. But get all those
Hmm.
details. Don't just think, oh, a 6 foot tall hurricane fence is going to do the trick. What we have in our minds might not be what is really needed. You know,
Right.
and maybe their program can have a more secure system where only certain individuals that have been tested are allowed outside of their facility, and they might have provide security there to monitor and maintain the people that are on their campus. So it
Right.
might be potential that they can provide the security and oversight, and you won't need a fence. I'm not saying that you don't want a fence anyway, but they might be able to provide that extra layer of protection, uh, even
Hmm.
maybe together with your fence. You might even have the best fence in the world, but you say, hey, could you put some people out there to just give some extra oversight? Okay.
Hmm.
Um, so those are your needs, and you'll have to delineate which each of those needs are, what that's going to require, what that's going to take. And the next stage would be talking to contractors and stuff, getting bids. What is it going to take? But once you got to figure out what is it you actually need, what kind of fence you need, you've talked to the local law enforcement, got suggestions from them. You've talked to some kind of architect. You've talked to the building codes people in your local city or county. Um, you've talked to the local organization pathways and said, hey, what do you need? What do you want? And talk to your church and the school board and say, what kind of fence do we want visually? And try to blend in.
Hmm.
Again, like I said before, you don't want to make something look like some Jurassic Park fence, prison fence, something that's going to detract from your
No.
school. And also the connotation of having a very, very high security fence will make parents think, well, what kind of school is this if they need some Jurassic Park security fence? What's out there? So they might say, I
Hmm.
want my kids to go to a different school because it's right next to the crazy bin, loony bin. So
Hmm.
something to consider. Alrighty, well, I think for now we've pretty much gone over the details here. Do you have any questions?
Um, I have a lot to think about with all that you've given me. Is there any way that I can listen to this video online or
Sure.
so that I could refresh myself on some of the points, or I can just give you a call if I need some help?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll look and see if I can put it on maybe YouTube or something, and you can take a look at it when you want to. You can also share it with your board or people you're talking with.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, thank you, and thank you for taking the time to talk with me. And I wish you,
Well, thank
I wish you
you.
the best.
Thank you. You
All
too.
right, bye.